Last but certainly not least, we have an incredible story from our very own Pearson at UMass Amherst. Before she comes up here to share just this powerful, incredible story that's just among all the stories you've heard today, just continues to hold on to you. Know that you should take extra care of yourself in this story. And also know that in moments like this is when we hold space. This is when we choose to be the first. So, to share a little bit about her first, please welcome Pearson.
Once upon a time, approximately 10 years ago, I decided to run for homecoming queen at the University of Mississippi. If you don't know much about the place affectionately known as Ole Miss, here are your first fast facts. James Meredith would be the first Black student to integrate the university only 60 years ago. In 1972, Ben Williams would become one of the first Black student athletes. The year 2000 would elect our first Black student government president. A statue honoring James Meredith would be revealed in 2006. And in 2012, one of my best friends would be elected the first Black woman to be the student government president. When I decided to run, I knew I didn't look like any of the previous homecoming queens because we had never had a Black homecoming queen. But I was a born and bred rebel. My Winona, Mississippi mother and my Oxford, Mississippi father met at the University of Mississippi. I went to basketball camp on campus for 4 summers. I watched my dad receive his MBA from the Tad Smith Coliseum. I had the grades and I knew the people. And although we had no idea what we were doing, and I don't think any of us actually thought I could win, we at the time of our lives just winging it. Black candidates, non-Greek candidates, didn't have big Greek houses to host as headquarters or hundreds of students to wear matching oversized t-shirts to harass voters. So, my friend Ruben would help me unpack my first off-campus apartment so that I could live in the same place where we hosted most of my campaign meetings. Ryan would build my sign on the church parking lot of my Uncle Major's church. Tyler, Emily, Ruben, and I would paint my sign at the Community Boys and Girls Club playroom. Nick would hitch my sign to the back of his truck and haul it to and from the Grove. Adam would make sure I ate and stopped introducing myself to people that I had met 3 times. The Black Student Union and the Alphas would let my orientation leader team stroll with them during Union Unplugged. Quan would exhaust every option on social media. And my mom would show up on both election day and the runoff to ensure that there was always someone campaigning for me from start to finish. And when my name was announced as the winner, I realized that first would mean forever. And for a time, first would feel a little famous. My face was featured on every newspaper in the state, and my mom made sure she collected every single one. I was interviewed by and featured on NPR, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, CNN with Don Lemon, Steve Harvey, and Essence Magazine. And as I awkwardly fumbled and found my confidence, Cedric would coin, "That's that queen shit," as my altered personality mentality. And from far away, it looked like I was having the time of my life. But I was contemplating taking my life. Because for all the fancy fame, I was fading under the fear. Fear that I would lose the fight. The fight that was constantly reminding me of The 14-minute YouTube video that Tony Sotomayor and obese Ole Miss homecoming queen that was irate that not only did I have the nerve to be black and ugly, but being fat was much too unacceptable. The fight that reminded me through the direct words of our dean of students that I had been celebrated enough. The fear that I would lose the fight against my mind that was telling me, this will be the most important thing you'll ever do, because it'll be the last thing you ever accomplish. And then I said those words out loud. In what felt like the 100th interview, I finally gave in to the fear and said, this will probably be the most important thing I'll ever do. I was done. I didn't have any other goals or any other plans. Because when I don't have a plan, I don't have a plan to survive. That's when I recognize that I've hit my basement, my lowermost point, when I stop making plans. In 2022, Chelsea Christ, the 2019 Miss USA, would find her basement and her lowermost point and take her own life. In the year that she won Miss USA, all top 5 beauty pageants, Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, Miss America, Miss Universe, and Miss World, were all black women. And I wonder, did they ever think that this would be the most important thing they would ever do? Did anyone ask? Did anyone remind them that they were and are more than their accomplishments? Because no one asked me. And the timeline of events that would lead up and follow my fortune and fame of being first, no one would ask. As educators in higher education that are focused and responsible for the co-curricular experiences of students, no one asked. As educators in higher education that are focused and responsible for the social development and behavior of students, no one asked. As educators in higher education that are focused and responsible for the care and concern of holistic student wellness, why did it take until 1 year later, when a student would place a noose on the statue of James Meredith, and when I arrived on campus, it was business as usual. Another great day to be a rep. Normalcy, routine, mundane, because that sounds about white, right? As I stepped inside of our Lyceum, the historic building on our campus, the sun set on my perspective of the institution affectionately known as Ole Miss. And as I intensively, emotionally collapsed, surrounded by 2 of our assistant vice chancellors, overwhelmed with the weight of my emotions, neither anticipated the depth of my desire to disappear, to drown, to die. So, have you asked your students lately? More specifically, have you asked your black students, your young black women? Have you told them that the social progression of our oppressive institutions and our associations cannot and should not be built on the sunsetting goals and plans of our black students? Because I will. And this time I won't be afraid to be the first. The first to ask, the first to show up, the first to create space for their tears and fears, the first to dance with you, the first to call you, the first to remind you that you are more than your accomplishments and more than your positions. Because if we want to sail towards new horizons, we must be willing to be the first to ask before the winds and waves engulf their dreams.